What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. This is Coach Mike James. You know the brand, P&Z Life Coaching. You know the man, Coach Mike James, and I'm back again with another amazing, dope episode of Impactful Conversations. So if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if this is your first time here, and then tell a friend to tell their friend about this YouTube channel. And go back and check out all my previous Impactful Conversations, as well as my other interview series that's now a podcast, Black Business Booming. So check it out. And I'm excited because I've met a lot of amazing people over the last 2 years in doing this. And Impactful Conversations was another opportunity for me to connect with dope people that are doing amazing things, and not just business, but having an impact on the community at large. So I'm excited for this one. I know this one's going to be good. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm excited to have this one, bro. And so what I want you to do for a moment, I always tell people, imagine you're getting that award of a lifetime and you're giving the notes to somebody to introduce themselves. I give you that opportunity to introduce yourself like you would have someone to do if you were winning that award of a lifetime. Anything that you want the people to know in terms of introducing yourself to the audience.
For sure. Well, first, thank you, Coach Mike, for allowing me to be in your space, for giving me the space to speak about what I do for the community and in general, just what I do to support others. Man, that question is deep in the sense of it got some layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and try that. I think for me and where I stand and the person that I am and just been cultivated to become the man I am, I would say that the person will speak of the hard work that I've done for folks. They will speak to the support that I've given to others, and I've never done it for the benefit of my own self. They will speak to my talents and my eccentricness, whether it's being able to passionately tell you what it's about, the business, but also being able to passionately spit a poem if I need to, right? I think it really, if anything, that legacy and what that introduction will be is a man who took care of others and did it all with hard work and real, authentic interest and investment of others. No, there's no fronting on that one at all, man, because I think all my life's work from running camp communities to mentoring folks, consulting for camps, for consulting for corporations, I think it all spoke to the hard work that I do for others and why, I'm a coach to this day too. So I'll land my plane on that.
I love it. I love it, man. So I'm excited, man. We met through, I always give my little introduction when I'm doing lives on TikTok and stuff. And I have the part in there where I say I'm a life coach, speaker, a facilitator for Certified Life Coach Institute. So we met, you were taking one of the classes, and there's just certain people, I think I told you this, is just certain people who come through the class where they stand out. And it's amazing where when you reached out to me, I say, it ain't about who's talking the most in terms of who stands out. It ain't about, who's answering the most, or it's just something about certain people where it's like that impact, which again is one of the reasons why I started doing this. And it's so many that I keep in touch with. So Adam, man, I met you and we've been connecting ever since. It seems like much longer. I mean, it's maybe been what, a month or two total.
Kindred spirits, right?
Right, man. Those genuine connections, man, that you come by, you don't come by often. So with that and what you spoke of with this, I want you to take us back to like Adam early on. Like, what's your background and early upbringing in life that brought you to some of those things you just shared in terms of the impact that you've had in your life? Take us back to young Adam and for a moment and tell us about your upbringing.
For sure, Mike. I think, a big part of young Adam, right, there's an evolution at that point of where I'm at now, but, young Adam really laid the foundation for where Adam is right now, right? Originally from Chicago, west side of Chicago, exactly the Humble Park area of Chicago. So everybody knows that area has the big island Puerto Rican flags. Everybody around my neighborhood looked just like me. They were either black or brown. We all lived within our 4 blocks of our neighborhood. Some of us never made it to Lakeshore Drive until we were teenagers, right? That was a lot of my upbringing, just staying strictly within my community, embracing my community, the people in my community, whether it was our next door neighbor coming over for 2 cups of sugar or a glass of milk back in the day when they used to do those things, because times was hard and communities stuck together, right? For me, when I reflect on just the younger Adam, there was a few pinnacle pieces. I come from a big family of gang members in Chicago. So, as you know, Mike, that comes with a pre-designed destiny. And I started following that in so many ways, man. And I think part of that, you navigate your life where within your environment, your circumstances, the opportunities that are presented, the opportunities that are not presented. And I took all that in and I started finding my way into this space of just commonality. Everybody in my neighborhood was in that crew. Everybody in my neighborhood wore those colors, right? It became one of those things. But the beauty of that is as I was navigating that, where my family resided on one side of the gangs, right? They were all folks. I decided to join the side of people, right? So I was doing the opposite. And what I learned with that is that it just wasn't me. So in that sense, I learned some hard lessons in my younger years. I was homeless from age 15 to 19. And in that time that I was homeless, I dropped out of high school. I was selling drugs. I was womanizing. Right, I was doing everything possible to be just a horrible human being, and that's just facts, right? And the beauty of that is that when you're at least for me in my life, where I was at my most lowest, where I felt like, go ahead and just put the dirt on me on this one, people will come to my life that were just so meaningful and impactful, and they saw something in me, Coach, that I didn't see. Right? They were like, wait, you got these gifts. You got a presence. You mentioned it earlier, right? Like I've always told I have a power of presence. It's a vibe. Saying, Adam, when you walk in the room, people gonna look because you bring a different energy. Your energy comes in the room before your presence does, right? So in that sense, I had all these amazing people feeding this energy to me. And I think I hit my wall around 17, and the organization that was a pillar of the community of Chicago's West Side, called the Settlement House. They served nothing but Black and brown families, immigrant families. They had grocery programs. They pay your rent. They pay your light. They just did everything possible to help you survive. So they were giving light for our neighborhood, right? And there was a lady there. She was about 4'8", half Mexican, half Polish. She had a most beautiful afro, and she used to always come to me and pull me off the street corners of Chicago's West Side and take me to the settlement house and make me either read, write, study my GED. She paid for my GED to go take it. I failed it. She said, nope, we ain't giving up. She paid for it again. I passed
Wow.
it. Right. It was one of those things, Coach, where I really felt like although I had all these trials and tribulations, I had all these amazing people who were there with me taking it on. Although I felt by myself through my younger years, in my reflection of my older self, I realized that I did have so many people there. It just felt lonely because I was pushing motherfuckers away. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
So in that sense, for me, when I think of that childhood and the impact, my community impacted me because it made me proud of who I was. My family are from Puerto Rico, originally from Puerto Rico. I represent myself as an Afro Latino, so that means I recognize my African roots before my Spaniard roots. Why I say that is important to me because my community instilled that in me, right? As much as I had my Puerto Rican rice and beans, I also had my greens, right? I also had all the other things that really balanced me out as a human being, as a person, as my identity. So as I was hitting all these walls, I think the turnaround was that lady, that same lady, Pat Jaska, she saw that. She saw me losing weight. She saw me losing my spirit. She saw me losing my soul. She hit her wall and she said, I'm gonna send you to Wisconsin for about 6 months to camp. The camp is closed. There ain't nobody there. There's no temptations. There's nothing there for you but just thinking. And she did that. She put me on a metro train. She shipped me to Wisconsin. It's the camp I knew. I grew up at this camp. But it was really one of the biggest changes in my life. I went out there and camp wasn't the same camp. It was empty. It was ghost town, right? It ain't the same vibe.
Yeah.
But it gave me so much space to just kind of clear my heart, press a little reset on my spirit, right? It allowed me to like really study. It just really changed. We at times we get in these trajectory spaces and this movement, and it's so magnetic to the point that it just can't release. And in this thing, when she shipped me out there, that shit released. All the city, the tension. By then, I already lost 4 friends to gang violence, all of them being shot in the head. So it was all of these things accumulating. And I went out there and it all kind of went away to a degree. So when I think of my childhood, Coach, I really do, and the impact, right? Kind of going to your question, and I hope I'm answering this right, is that, I think of the moments I felt alone that I actually wasn't. And if it wasn't for the Pat Jaskas, the Miss Bertha Browns, the Miss Angel Merritts, these are all women who just kind of like entered my life when I was motherless, right? And only motherless through my choice, only through my choice. So I'll land my plane on that one, but that's kind of like when you said that question, what resonated to me.
Wow. Man, that's amazing. And just even that, again, this is why, when we met, we talked previously, I was like, I got to get you on an impactful conversation. And one of the reasons is because this, right? What you talk about and your presence and your energy entering a room before you, I started impactful conversations because I like to get to the how you show up this way. The impactful moments which you just shared of your childhood. One of the things I do when I do my closes of my talks and my lives and all that, I'll do Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law comes from my middle school homeroom teacher that just instilled in us, I am somebody. Today I'm great. Tomorrow I'll be greater because Ms. Murphy said so. And that was something that stuck with me. So when you said that, and you shared that, man, it's so amazing how it was almost like reading a book, and you not only answered the question, you answered the next question too by talking about some impactful moments for yourself growing up, and it's amazing how it's almost like that divine destiny. Like before you even get to your path or the thing that is the thing that you're going to be doing, it's all these little puzzle pieces that are dropped in place even before we know it. We have no idea. You had no idea that just these pivotal women who stood out and was poured into you, and even how you made the acknowledgement of motherless by choice. You had no idea that these things were going to affect you in a way where you could show up like you are today. And even by just going to a camp somewhere that's so polar opposite of what you was experiencing, man. And I love that. And that's one of the main reasons why I love these conversations. And for everybody that's watching, you already know that Adam is already brought the heat, and you got to make sure that you connect with my bro here, because I think this is just so awesome. So you shared about that and going to the camp, which you say changed your life. Are there any other impactful moments or things that stood out for you that you can remember growing up that kind of shape Adam today?
Yeah, for sure, Coach. I think a big part of that, as I left those 6 months at camp, one of the things that they connected after those 6 months was opportunity for me. And what they wanted to do, I was truly a product of that organization. They had Head Start programs. I was in that Head Start program. My mom, was a beneficiary of their grocery program. And I think a big part of like our full circle moment was they were like, Adam, we want to invest in you. We need you to learn every part of camp. You are a product of our organization. We're not going to lose you, right? And that's great. Coach, when you have folks that be like, we're not losing you, right? How great that feels and the support that you receive in that, right? You can really hold it with them. So in that sense, when I think about like other situations and moments, I think beyond just kind of like Pat Jaska believing in me and shipping me away, um, I've never thought that school and education was something that was obtainable to me. I never really connected it to it, right? I always look at Chicago public schools as an overcrowded public swimming pool. And I was lost in the mix. And as I mentioned, I'm an eccentric fellow. So, I wasn't just your normal student. I was very artistic, right? And I needed more from public school, and they didn't provide that. So as I got into my later years, and at that time, there was just this supreme pressure to like get a college degree. And man, that was hard for me, coach, because it was never a place that I felt comfortable. It was a place that I literally put on a metaphorical mask on to get through it. And for me, um, after doing some work with the organization and their investment in me, they cultivated me to the degree to making me the director of the camp. It was all in timing, right? So I'm passing some years here of other things, but when I'm thinking of the moments, I think the turnaround was when they were like, "Look, hey, we love you're the natural camp director. You run a community like nobody's business. Like you do great with that, but we need the education behind it." So the board and the organization decided to pay for my degree,
Wow.
right? And that shit ain't easy. That was even more pressure, coach, right? You're like, you don't
Yeah.
even like school.
Right.
Then you gotta
Right.
go. And usually the reason not to go is I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna say when someone's saying, well, I pay for that shit? Right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, coach, I think the big piece of like that change, that opportunity, because I ran camps after that for almost 28 years, predominantly for underserved communities of Detroit, Chicago, and Milwaukee, right? So I say that was one of the pinnacles, but I think beyond that was when I met my partner, my missus. When she met me, I was in a straight box, and that box was called the West Side of Chicago. It was actually called From Diversity and Division to Milwaukee. It was actually streets because my thoughts didn't leave those spaces. So when she met me, she was like, and my wife is from London, so she's gonna go different side of the world. She asked me, so what are you gonna do about your career? And I told her this, coach. I said, we don't work careers in the hood. We work jobs. There ain't no such thing as what the hell is a career?
Wow.
I'm a security officer, right? And ain't nothing wrong with being a security officer. You know that, coach. Ain't
Right.
nothing wrong with it, right? And nothing wrong with whatever job you need to take to survive and take care of your business. Why I'm saying this is that my mindset was in a space of 4 blocks within my neighborhood. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was literal. It was a figurative thing, right? I was living in that, and she really just opened up the barn doors and said, "You don't live in those 4 blocks no more." And once I knew I didn't have to live in those 4 blocks no more, it was a turning point. It was a turning point for me as a person, as a leader, as a camp director, as a youth worker, like go down the list, as a father, right? It was just all registering because I was limiting myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had all these belief systems, all these folks saying, yo, you got this, you got the gifts, you talents, right? That's that imposter syndrome, as you know, was setting in on me in so many ways. Back then, it wasn't called imposter syndrome.
Right.
So, in that sense, right, I'm navigating something that probably isn't fully identified to a full degree for you to really, grasp it. And for me, just being able to hear someone say, like, you can step out those 4 blocks. So, what I did that. Started driving my ass to Wisconsin. I started driving to Michigan. I started taking opportunities outside of my state, but I kept it in the same realm. Like, if you want me to work at your camp, my question was, what kind of kids you serving? And
Mm-hmm.
as soon as they were like, we serve black and brown children, I was like, yeah, that's me, right? Right? It's knowing who you want to serve and what you want to do. And I think for me, those besides the moment of getting shipped out and away from my city when I really needed it, it was just those key moments of someone saying something as simple as, you only live in those 4 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll land my plane on that.
Wow. Man, knowing who you are, knowing who you want to serve and what you want to do, that part is just amazing. And so much of what you're saying as a youth coach and a youth mentor is it's crazy. For those who know about Chicago, I was telling you we talked before. I have a lot of family still in Chicago. My oldest five siblings were born in Chicago, and so when you talked about that, for years growing up right there on the west side and never being the lakeshore, that hits home. Even here in the Birmingham, Alabama area, there are so many youth that I talk to or work with where they haven't been, downtown or haven't seen driven by the Vulcan, which sits on the mountain of Birmingham. And it's like they stay right over the hill and have never been there. Or, you can drive over one of the mountains here and they say, "Where are we?" And it's like, this is your city. Like you're 15 minutes from here. So that right there is impactful. And so when you said that jumped out to me, man. Like again, like reading a book that jumped off the page where it's like knowing who you want to serve. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I tell people it's about your passion more so than your purpose. Cause you can die not knowing your purpose. And it's this stress that's always hovering over you. Like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? I tell people, find your passion. Your passion will pin you to your purpose. And when you know
Mhm.
what you're passionate about and who you want to help, who you want to serve, that is amazing. So again, you're just like connecting all the dots in this conversation, bro, because you went into that next question and you've already said some of it,
Yep.
especially that part about who you want to serve and knowing your it's almost knowing your worth and your value, right? Because it's got to be something that's going to combat that imposter syndrome when the imposter syndrome says, are you sure you can do this? Can you go outside these 4 blocks? Can you do this? Can you speak in another state or establish this thing? And so that is impactful. As an adult, what are some other um ideas of impact for you as an adult? Like now, looking back on it, and for you, the work you do with the youth, the work I do, what is your idea of impact as an adult?
For myself or for others, coach?
It could be both. I like where you take that, both.
Yeah, I think in my reflection and that impact for myself, it was accepting the olive branches that were extended. I think another part of my 4 blocks of my neighborhood mentality was the lack of acceptance of someone helping. That's it. And
Mm,
someone almost to the degree like you don't accept that helping hand. It was one of those talks or like lessons that were just embedded. And it was bad because when I was homeless and I was starving, right? I was having sleep for dinner every night. People were trying to feed me, and I was still stubborn and be like, "No, right?" I think it's really looking at all when I think of the impact for just myself and speaking on that is probably all the olive branches, man, all the people who reached out, all the people who built that bridge to give me some clarity and understanding when I was confused. All those folks who are like on the other side of that tunnel with like gauze and band-aids and said, "Come bring that heart this way." Right. And thinking of that, that was the impact. When I think of impact, I think of uh, uh, man, I have to say it. I have to because he's sitting right here on the side of me, Muhammad Ali, man. That right, Muhammad Ali was someone who was very impactful to me. I looked at him as someone that I wanted to be. I'm a fatherless child, right? So when I was young, there was a couple people I wanted to be my pops. Muhammad Ali was one of them. And I was like, shit, if he was my dad, I'd be pretty bad. And why I'm saying this is like when it was happening, even though I was getting better at accepting those olive branches, I was also still in the space of too much pride to accept them.
mm,
By me accepting them, what are you thinking of me now when I walk away?
yeah.
Right? And I'm one who always stand on my own business, coach, right? Like I'm one like I'll visualize and make it happen, right? So it's that drive. So when I think of the impact for me, just on me, it's all the folks I mentioned, the Pat Jaska, the Bertha Browns, the Angel Merritts, the Gordy Kaplans, the John Anderson the thirds, the Rich Dogs. These are all people who just entered my life and extended some form of a branch, right? And for the males that I mentioned in that circle, the branch that they extended to me, between identity, a little bit of identity, because all the a couple of that I mentioned um, were from the South Side of Chicago. You know, strong black men who represented clarity, who represented giving love to people, right? And they both instilled just this, like, because they were, I was 7, they were 21, 20. And what I'm saying and expanding on this one, coach, is that these two brothers I'm talking about are my two best friends to this day. Like, they my dogs. Like, those are my guys. And with that, those olive branches that were extended to me at those moments when I really needed them and I appreciated them at that time, the appreciation probably wasn't as in abundance as it is now. But what it did for me, and this is the impact for others, is that I was always taught by some great mentors, great folks who just like live and breathe the artistry of artwork, right? And they say, Adam, as you go on your journey and you become successful and you do amazing work, don't do it by yourself. Invite others on your journey. And she says, sometimes you're going to be able to get both your hands to invite people. Sometimes you're only going to be able to give one hand. But invite others to that journey so they can experience those things. And they can be another person who can impact just like you. You're passing that over. And see, all of that kind of represented to me all the things they were trying to do for me. All the people I mentioned were great leaders in communities, were great people. They made people smile. They made people happy. They figured out people's problems, right? And what they were giving to me at that time is what I'm trying to give to my young folks now, right? Like, hey, take these gems right quick. Let me give you these gems, right? And you and I know it's a different space when you're mentoring a youth as opposed to coaching. And I think with youth, I live in both spaces because of who I am. And I think, you know, for me, when it goes for myself and others, I think it's the extension of that olive branch when I received when I was an adolescent that instilled it in me as a grown man to instill it in others.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to highlight something you said. You said
Mhm.
heart work.
Yes,
You
sir.
said heart work. And I love that because so many times I hear my mentor in my ear, saying so many times we strive so hard to be a human doing that we forget to be a human being. and
Mhm.
and all the hard work, HARD, a lot of times it can keep us or deter us or maybe just be a little glaze over the heart work, HEART. You know what I'm saying? The stuff that's going to be impactful, the stuff that's going
Yeah.
to really make a difference in society and community as a whole, and all those people and the legacy that was carried through them to you, and now you have that mission to carry to the next. So we talked about neighborhood, right? And how I see in essence those cities that you kind of pointed out, now you almost created like this puzzle of
Mhm.
now not only just neighborhood from your 4 blocks of your neighborhood, but community. So the next question for you is, Adam, today and everything that's gotten you to this point in your life, what does community mean to you?
Man, that's a great question, Coach. Because originally from Chicago, obviously lived all over the Midwest because of running camps. But I think now living in Colorado, you know, I'm rebuilding my community in so many ways, right? But what community means to me is I'll speak of it in a couple categories. I'm gonna speak of it in feeling first. For feeling, it is home. It is authentically Adam. It is Adam without his metaphorical mask. It's Adam who smiles more. Um, it's Adam who probably is going to sing more. um, I think for feeling based, acceptance and comfort is probably the feeling base. In terms of theory and just thought, I think community it can be a selective of things because I've been blessed to run communities, right? Because I ran camps for so many years. It was literally a community when you got like 100 to 200 people in one spot and y'all live there every day with each other, wake up. It is community. And in that sense, I always pride myself on being the mayor of the community. I used to say that a lot. And I wasn't the mayor who was at every function. I was pretty behind the scenes on that. But my job was solely to check the pulse of the community. And so community to me, in theory and thought, is a place where a place or environment where people look like you, speak like you, and maybe even think like you. But then on the opposite side, they don't. And that's okay. That's that place, that community is okay. You can be that too. My community is a place where all is accepted. My community is a place where opinion is free, and minds are too. But I also believe community is a place where we get grounded, where we realize when we stand shoulder to shoulder for folks. And in the camp community, I'm gonna keep using this as reference. You have great days in camp, and then you have moments that are horrible, like where the weather comes in and
Mm.
knocks out our big block party, and we have barbecue going on that day, and a bunch of great stuff going on, right? These little things that change those moments, but how the community shows up and reacts to that. And what my community will do is we'll go indoors and create that atmosphere indoors. We didn't give up. The weather didn't stop it. So I also feel that community is a community who doesn't give up. They continue, they thrive, right? And I think for me, I lived in a variety of communities, communities where I wasn't accepted, communities where it didn't feel comfortable, communities where um, communities where I maybe felt like an alien a little bit.
Mm.
Um, I think the communities that I think of and that I'm visualizing, um, I almost visualize it, and I don't mean to get spiritual here, but I almost visualize it in a spiritual sense as well. When I can close my eyes and think about it in a visual way, I see that community where all my ancestors who have passed. I see my moms there who transitioned during COVID, right? I see all, so it's a peace thing, right, for me as well. But it's also a resting spot, and it's always there no matter where you go. So, like, I used to tell people, I used to always think that camp was just a place, like it's all about the place, the buildings, the beds, and all that. And that was my first 5 years of my camp director career. And that's how I used to speak about the community. But then I learned a granular, um, I got some clarity, is what I guess I'm saying. And then I changed up my language and I said, camp is not a place, it's a feeling. So that means that feeling can go anywhere with you. Those songs, those activities, all that is a feeling. It can go with you. You can package that, take that with you, and give it to others, right? So I feel like that's what community is. It's a feeling. It's not a place, right? As much as we want to identify it as a tangible thing, it's more of a tangible feeling that resonates in the heart. So I'll land there.
Yeah, community, man. You said it in a prolific way. Of really what I took from that is community is what you make it, and it's always with you. When you said that, I literally went off to that place of, like you said, that spiritual part of you think
Mhm.
about it, you close your eyes, you see your ancestors, right? And those who paved the way for you. And that's an amazing thought because at any given time, man, it's we're recording this beginning of October. And my oldest brother, who was also my godfather, his birthday was the 28th. And when you said that, it took me right to that moment where I reflect of the loved ones I lost in transition. They transitioned on from my mom when I was 11 to my father when I was 24, to so many different people, to my oldest brother that we lost in 2020, transitioned during the early time of COVID. And I think about that, and I was like, wow, that is so amazing the thought that community can be with you at any given time. And you
Mhm.
said that something about that peace, you know, that inside connection where you just close your eyes. And especially for those who are watching and maybe watching it or listening, and you're, you know, maybe community, your community is not what you want it to be right now. It's a matter of taking what Adam just said and really closing your eyes to sit. If you don't like the community that you're a part of or how your community looks, go within and say, how do I envision community? You know, where it connects me to those people who were impactful for me early on, you know, my loved ones, the ancestors, the people that I want to reach. And that right there was so beautiful how you explained that, because I saw that being this thought where you, that's part of your name and your energy preceding you as well, because you take community with you. You take all the stuff that made Adam today with you when you go.
Mhm.
I take all the stuff that made Coach Mike me, and it goes before me, it's there with me, and it's there after I leave, you know, because I'm taking a piece of that community with me. And you know, we're all community. We're all
Yep.
community. And what we make it, you know, that I always say, we say 6 degrees of separation. I think that's a myth now. It may be 2 to 3 with social media and the internet and all that stuff. The connections that we have is so powerful.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love that how you explain that community.
And you know
So
what?
now, go
And
ahead.
Coach, I was just going to say one more thought, or just add, the contrast. I love speaking to contrast, right? The contrast of that when I'm speaking of my earlier years, right? I didn't leave my 4 blocks in my neighborhood, and because it was very instilled that your community is your neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which jailed me in so many ways, and not literally, right? I wasn't in jail like literally, but I was within my 4 blocks. I didn't leave that shit because they said this is what it is, Adam. This is your
Right.
community. So then my mindset kept going that way, but something turned for me, and it was really realizing that every community that I left that told me this is your community. When I left, it left with me. It didn't stay
Mm-hmm.
there. Even when that community got sold and became a whole other different business, it was still with me. Right? It still stayed and resonated in my heart, in my spirit. So that when people see me from that community that's no longer there no more, when they automatically see me, coach, they already resonating. Like Adam Kemp Rosenthal. Oh, that right. So
Right.
that's the thing, right? The contrast of those things, which is so beautiful about life and evolution, and the way we hold our mindsets and the way we mold it sometimes, like Play-Doh, to do good and maybe not so good for us in our thinking.
Absolutely, man. And when you said that, when you said contrast, right? You know, we hear that saying, that quote so much: when you know better, you do better. But what's the opposite of that? If you don't know any better, you don't do any better. And unfortunately, if you don't get outside of that guideline, that indoctrination, or that cognitive dissonance of this is what something means, then you're one of the ones who never get it. So that is amazing. Now, Adam, you mentioned spoken word, you mentioned singing, you mentioned coaching, mentoring, camp director. So with all the talents, I'm going to say gifts that you bring with you, what if anything are you doing professionally today to have an impact on the community and just be impactful as the adult you today? What are some of the things that you're doing to have impact?
For sure, I think a big part of it is, one of my foundational pieces of who I am as a human being is to heal folks, right? So everything with me is going to begin with healing. Whether that is healing from small, medium, or big things, really up to your control on that, right? So for me, one of the things that I've done, and this is how I met you, is I lived in the corporate world for a while. It got exhausting. So in that sense, I was hoping to reach this oracle, this work oracle, like in the movie 300, when they go to the oracle to get some like pardon. And I wanted that same exact experience to be able to go to the work oracle and say, hey, I've been in this work world. for a long time. The last 10 years have been rough for me. I can't find a workplace that is my community. I can't find a workplace where I don't have to wear my mask. I can't find a workplace that does the bait and switch to me. Loves all my eccentric and energy in the interview, but then when I bring it in realism, they're like,
Mm.
I don't know yet, Adam. So in that sense, by the time I got to meet you and join your wonderful class, and by the way, people, audience, Coach Mike James, does amazing work in his training class. So you should join it. But beyond that, I think I just hit my wall, and I think throughout my life, I always mentored. I mentored throughout my life. I have an abundance of mentees. I've always been someone who coached, even when I guess they call it a little bit of a wild west when I wasn't certified, and I was just coaching people, like just giving them advice and thoughts and helping them think outside of their own professional woes. And so, a lot of these things were coming to me, and I am a strategic person. I am a strategic visionary. So I tend to live about a year ahead of you. It's a gift and a curse because I got to catch people up to my thoughts. In saying that, about I want to say last year sometime, I took a new role, C-suite role, and at the same time, I started already building new ideas of what I wanted to do. So I almost knew that although I was taking this role, um, there was something bigger there for me. So in that sense, I decided like I want to continue to help, I want to support, and I want to stop supporting visions of leaders, and I want to support mine. I want to take care of my vision. So I decided to, one, invest and get my education up, get certified, so I'm not living in the wild west no more, and become a life coach. With that, my credential is under professional coach, and I do feel like I live in both worlds just because of the worlds that I come from. So there's one part of just like my coaching business. The business is called Coaching with Mr. Adam LLC. The Mr. Adam comes from years of what my community called me. Back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, when you went to a community center, you called everybody by Mr. Whatever. It was just one of those things out of respect. So in that sense, it was something that carried over, it flowed. My logo, as it will come out, is a vision that I had about 3 years ago. So it's all little things that capture, but the impact really comes from being able to coach my clients. One of the questions I always ask is who's helping you heal, who's helping you progress. Those are two big questions I feel like bring out a lot out of people when I'm trying to sort out where they're at and where they want to be, so I can be the co-pilot to that journey and help them get there, right? But beyond that, I'm just a creative spirit, as I mentioned, right? So the other thing that I'm working on and I'm kind of formulating together currently beyond just my coaching business, I'm going to have a podcast called Black and Brown in the Wood Podcast. And this podcast is really all about our Black and Brown heroes who do amazing work for our communities. We want to give them flowers. We want to recognize them. We want to tell them they're doing amazing work. We're going to have some thoughtful conversations, just like you and I are having, brother. But beyond that, I also want to ask these amazing leaders that we're giving flowers to, who's helping them heal. Because as much as they are superheroes in our community, I also know that they go through things behind doors as well. And we want to take care of them too. And if you ain't healing, let us help you with that. Let us support you with that. And Black and Brown in the Wood podcast is all about that. It will be a touch of like some hip hop because that's my roots. But really thoughtful conversation, giving flowers and spotlight to amazing Black and Brown folks who are doing amazing work. Beyond that, I have a few partnerships that I'm formulating out here in Colorado. The first one is with CU Boulder. Last year, I started a partnership with them. They have a program called the McNeil Academic Program. It is for first generational graduation students, college students. And as you heard in this beginning of the conversation, your boy did not like school. So isn't it ironic
Right.
that I am supporting CU Boulder with first generational students? And that is all mindset, coach. You know that. You know it's mindset. When I can put myself in a space to believe I can be there, I will. And last year, I spent 3 hours with 150 students speaking on their journey in a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and how they're navigating that and their journey, and how they need to hold on, and how they need to see past that tunnel. Don't just worry about in the tunnel, right? And I felt like through that opportunity, it just created other opportunities. So I will be with those same academic program, those students. I will be doing a bunch of coaching with a bunch of those students in transformative space. A lot of them are in a 4-year program. A lot of them are navigating a part-time job on top of that, and also being in a school where they're probably like 5% in that school system. For folks who've never been to Boulder, beautiful city, but very expensive, very costly. So my goal with that is, and all goes back to healing, is supporting our young students through semesters, specific semesters, the entirety of these semesters. Because I think about it like this, coach, and you know this because you put me on to a lot of this language, is as you navigate this opportunity of coaching others, and you got this blessing to be able to be a soundboard for folks and to be able to be a populator. You populate these seeds, right? The blessing with that is that I was a non-traditional college student because I went later in life. But if I was reflecting and I thought about like being a non-traditional, being a traditional student and being in your first year, how beneficial in that space of where I was at to have a coach who took care of me in the way.
Yeah.
I had mentors. I don't need a mentor. I have those. I have people who love telling me what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I need a coach who's going to support me and listening to me and my ideas of what I want to do, right? So in that sense, what I'm going to be doing with CU Boulder is a lot of coaching with probably about 20 students total. But also I'm going to be doing some team building. I also live in the team building space. I do team building for different organizations. And when people say that, coach, I know people think like, oh, fun team building. That is not my style. I am a curator, so I curate personal team building experiences for corporations, organizations. So what that means is I will spend maybe an hour, 2 hours with their leadership. I will navigate what they want out of this opportunity. I will ask some hard questions like what are the gaps in this organization? What are the gaps in the culture of this organization? What are the gaps in you as leaders? I need to know all these things because what I'm going to do is curate an experience that is impactful, right? That when we walk away, we're walking away with some takeaway. And what I want that takeaway to be in that team building experience, besides collective connection, I want some individual work going on in that space too, right? So what I do is I would spend and I would go to the lab for about a week and design a full curation of activities that really speak to the things that the organization or whoever's hiring me or needs the services, it's aligned, right? So beyond that, I also am a speaker like you. Speaking is really a big part of my life, just running camps. When my mom was here, she always wanted me to be a pastor. Um, and I know I shared with you that people always tell me that I'm like a pastor because I kind of sit back and listen and speak when I need to. But what I learned with speaking is I don't speak for every speaking arrangement. So let me just say that I speak for speaking arrangements that speak to my spirit.
Mm.
So why I say that is the speaking arrangements that I take on are speaking arrangements that I know are going to benefit the people that I want to serve, right? Not saying that I won't speak to a room full of white college students or anything like that. What I'm saying is that my first preference is going to be for my black and brown college students, right? And in saying that, the last speaking arrangement I did was for our first generational students on their journey. I'm invited back here in January. They're doing their Take Two event. It's midway of their journey. So I'm coming back again to hit them up with some dopeness again. And we're really going to speak about the strengths of their character. The theme of their program this year is the puzzle pieces that put us together. So I wanted to
Mm.
speak about the strengths of people that are around us that we want to embody, right? We want to take that from them and embody in us so that we can become the person that we want to be, right? Because as much as we see that person, admire them, and want to grasp all those things, we can't be them. That's their identity.
Right.
But what I'm speaking to is those strengths, right? Those tangible tools that when we look at them, we're like, man, we wish we had that. So I'm going to be focusing on that with those students, just to kind of get kind of, they're almost at the end of their semester. So really trying to get them to the end, but bigger than that, supporting them throughout the semester with coaching and just being there, right? Being an ear, as you know, sometimes we just need that ear. That is it. Sometimes we just need that acknowledgement, like, yeah, you went through that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And I think for that, all of the things that I'm mentioning from the speaking, the team building, the coaching, all of it lives in a space of healing. Because when I'm approaching it not in let me fix your problems. I'm doing it in let me help you heal.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be a partner in that healing, right? And for that, right? Because you know that healing is going to really focus on self. They got to do a lot of that work. But what I'm saying is I'm going to be that reminder for you, right? I did a post today about upgrading, coach, right? How people are so quick to upgrade their vehicle, their kicks, their cell phones, right? Can't go a day without their cell phone. So I said, let me rephrase my question. If your heart is heavy and the way of the world, life is life in, when you upgrading that,
Mm.
when you fixing that, when you putting some time into that, right? So my goal with what I'm doing, it all falls into healing. And I have one more caveat and I'll land my plane. Another thing that I do, I am a private chef. Your boy cooks Caribbean food. And when I say Caribbean, it's the whole island. It's not just Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, all of it. And I do intimate meals, but what I do is with these meals, I also utilize some of these coaching aspects. It's a 4 hour experience in between courses that I'm providing. There's some prompts and some questions. One of them is, who's helping you heal?
Yeah.
Right? So all the things I find all these outlets, right? Because all these outlets feed my passion. And I love what you said. So many people focus on purpose. So many people, and you're right. I know so many amazing folks who passed away without identifying that, but they definitely knew wholeheartedly what their passion was. So I land my plane there, sir.
Man, come on. Man, listen, I'm trying to, you talk about landing the plane. I'm trying to get tickets to first class on flight Adam. Man, that was so beautiful and full. And where you went last talking about food, and everything you said was really nourishment for the soul. It
Mm.
just stood out to me when you started out and you said you were a strategic visionary. And I'm just hearing it and I'm like, okay, I know somebody's watching is like, okay, all right. I heard enough. How can I connect? How can I find out more about Adam, man? You spoke to so many dope things though, right there. The heart of, and I say this in class. I say, to me, I'm biased, maybe yes, but as coaches, we have something that is a superpower when we show up with our cape on the back of that cape it says presence, and sometimes that's the greatest gift we can give to somebody is that presence. And when you were talking, I'm like, man, if I had that person when I was in school, none of my older siblings finished. I was going in there blind. I didn't have that advice and what to do, Mike, and it was an age gap. So, if I had someone to just hear me instead of those who, like you say, you have former coaches or you have different people that are mentors, kind of the big brother figures, but you don't have someone to just hear you, like, man,
Yeah.
hear you for a minute, where you can actually lean in on that presence that they're giving you to be a full, whole, authentic, unapologetic human being.
Yeah.
So when you said that, man, it's just like it hit home. So I mean, icing on the cake, the cherry on top, the candle, and all that, bro. What you shared. So take a moment, man, and just tell people how they can connect with you and find out more about everything that you're doing, man.
For sure. Well, first, I'm gonna say again, I appreciate you, Coach, for platform, for your energy, everything you do for other people. The gems that you shared with me in the trainings, but also just I'm gonna put you on the list of another individual who recognized my greatness as well. I'm gonna say that. So I appreciate that. In terms of how to get a hold of me, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. It should be under Coaching Adam Perez Sr., Mr. Adam. But also you can email me at adam@coachingwithmradam.com, adam@coachingwithmradam.com if you want to talk. Set up a time. Website will be up by the end of this month of October. And also, I will have my YouTube page and podcast page coming out at the end of October as well. Everything's kind of happening at the end of October where people can connect. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of, I'll be doing some stuff with my coaching page, but also with the podcast. But with the coaching page, is going to be a lot of just like food for thought, some just kind of like, I spoke about upgrading. I got a lot of analogies I want to share with folks. But also just one of the things that I love to do is mental health minutes, really focusing on mental health. And I didn't say this in the things that I'm doing, but we have a Black and Brown collective of men out here that focus on mental health, and we have an event on October 19th where we're focusing on supporting brothers with mental health and really focusing on that, talking about it, putting that guard down and that stigma that we can't talk about these things for some reason, Coach. I don't know why. We're going to talk about it on this day. So there's that part. One more other thing, Coach, if I could just say this, it just popped in my head that I didn't
Absolutely.
mention. Yeah, man. I am also a trainer, and I didn't say this. I am doing a training on October 17th and the 22nd for a network, for an organization called Serious Fun Children Network. They have a series called DEI Learning Series for all their camps. Their camps are all over the world, not just in the United States. They have camps in Italy, Scotland, so they're all over the world. I'm hosting two trainings. I am the keynote trainer for this one as well, Coach. One of the training is on the metaphorical mask that we wear. You heard me mention that a few times. And it's the metaphorical mask that we all wear. Everybody wears a mask. But I'm also speaking specifically about marginalized populations and their mask and the mask they wear with no choice.
Mm.
So there's that one. And then I'm also doing a training on generations and working across generations. So the training is called Meeting Generations in Their Onlyness, a unique perspective of generational diversity. And what it's about, it's talking about the tangible tool of the word onlyness, Onlyness. When you accept them in their onlyness, that means you accept all their gifts, their talents, everything they bring to that space in that moment, and the reservations you might carry with them take a backseat, right? But then we're also going to talk about, I'm doing a big panel. I did a bunch of interviews these last couple of weeks. So I'm interviewing baby boomers, Gen Xers, Zers, millennials, right? I'm doing it all just to provide some information. So I want to plug that too, because they are going to record them. They are private trainings just for the organization, but they are going to record them and I'm going to share them on my outlets. And the math has 3 series. I'm only doing the first series with them. The first series focuses on you, your mask. The
Mm.
second series focuses on the youth we work with and their mask. And then the third series focuses on the universal mask and all the tools and tangible resources we can use to help ourselves and the youth that we work with take their mask off, right? So I wanted to say that beyond getting a hold of me, the email is the best way right now with LinkedIn. Feel free to connect. Once my website's up, that will probably be obviously the most best way to get a hold of me. But brother, I appreciate you, appreciate the opportunity to speak. And yeah, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have you in my life, man.
Absolutely, man. Listen, and you mentioned like the training, man. I gotta give a shout out to CLCI, Certified Life Coach Institute, because and I know you took your 102 with Troy. Like I
Yes,
say
man.
this in 101, when people are taking that first class, I say, listen, I'm telling y'all, I promise you, I would not lie. I would not lie. I would say something nice, Cause I got the gift of gab, and and I say sometimes I got my BS in exercise science, but I got a master's in BS. So I would say something nice, but when I say it, I truly mean it. I tell people I don't get in the habit of saying stuff that I don't truly mean just to make you smile or feel good. And I tell everybody, I say, listen, it doesn't matter who you get. I'm so blessed to be on a team where it's the first team I've been on in my life where I feel whole in that team. And like all the facilitators, man, I say, listen, it doesn't matter if you get Troy, if you get Sam, if you get Misha, you're going to get somebody dope. And you're talking about it's the rainbow. When I show up to our staff meeting, man, it's the rainbow and the representation. You know how many times I get where I'll have someone reach out to me and say, Mike, man, this is my first training. I'm 60 years old. This is my first training where I saw a black facilitator, a black man, a younger black man doing this or doing that. So I'm so grateful for that. And there's so many of former coaches that reach out and we connect. And I've had a few on impactful conversations. I've had some on Black Business Booming. So it's just a beautiful thing. And in this journey that I'm on, man, it's been in great part to just that opportunity, that opportunity that I was blessed to be on that team. And, been with CLCI now since, man, this is year, I think this is like year 4 for me, man. So it's been a journey, man. It's been awesome. And so I'm excited for that. I'm going to send it back to you and say thank you, man, for the time and for doing this and just being the impactful person that you are, right? And all the things you're doing. The instantly we started sharing connections and different things like that. So I'm excited to see it. To everybody that's watching, we're going to have some things in the description below. Make sure you check out how you can connect with Adam. You heard the good things that he's doing. It ain't stopping right here. It's going to keep going. Some things coming up this month and just in general. So Adam, listen, man, I appreciate you. Any last words or anything that you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah. And I'll go by the 5 Bs. Be brief, brother. Be brief, right? Who's helping you heal? That's what I want to ask, folks. Who's helping you heal? And I also want to, another word or last word would be sometimes we sit by our fire too long, and that fire is our passion. But really, it's there for you to just warm up your hands, not your body. So get
Mm.
up off that chair and move away from the fire. I would say that. That's kind of my last word, sir.
I love it. I love it. You started on fire. You ended with a literal analogy about fire. So I love it, man. To everybody that's tuned in, if you haven't, after hearing this amazing interview, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe when we drop the info on Adam's website, YouTube, all of that. When you reach out to Adam, let him know that you heard him on Impactful Conversations with Coach Mike James. I appreciate all of you for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all next time on the next Impactful Conversations. Peace.